If given a chance, who would you bring back to life? Deceased family members aside, it would probably be William James Sidis. He is believed to have been the most intelligent human being in recorded history with an estimated IQ of 240 or possibly ever. He was the first person to predict the existence of black holes the scientific community caught up later when the foundational theory in physics and mathematics was in place. I have always been interested in neuroscience and how the mind works. Would love to have a conversation with him to better understand how his brain worked and how he saw the world. One of my closest friends I've ever had in a while, he just died 2 months ago from lung cancer stage 2. His family, I mean his so-called family, played a big role in his death. Even his elder brother died from the same reason me and my other 2 friends played the family roles. To country and tried our best he stays away from smoke inhalation. His ma is a smoking yet still smokes in his very room in the freaking hospital. My friend was an alluring persona and graceful being. Is a hard one for me. On one hand, my mother, because she passed away very young when I was only 5. I'd like to spend time with her as an adult, get some answers to some questions, etc. On the other hand, my grandmother, who raised me after my mother passed away. My mother was her youngest child. I had my grandmother until I was 28. There are things that I would like to ask her as well, and to be honest, she was the love of my life and I miss her every day. My dad, he went way too soon in 2004, out of the blue pretty much. He was only 47. And my mum changed for the worst and is now married to someone she secretly hates and no one really likes him. He's an idiot but fears loneliness and having no money too much to do something about it. If my dad was back, she'd come to senses again, and also I'd be able to hang out way more with him. Oneness, having a father figure. My dog, I had him for such a brief amount of time. He was old when I got him, and was taken early by cancer. He was such an important part of my life, no matter how often he drove me nuts. I loved him. He used to see us leave through the garage each day, and one day I'd come home to find that he'd destroyed the doorknob trying to get into the garage. After we'd left, sometimes I see the tooth marks and I get sad. To troll Christians, I would publicly resurrect Jesus. They'll lose their fucking mind when they realize he's extremely not white, doesn't speak English, and doesn't have a fucking clue what the USA is. They'd probably even claim he's not the real Jesus and mental gymnastics their way into believing something else completely fucking insane. I would need more details on the restrictions. A monkey's poor situation. I'd most like to say my grandfather, but only if I can bring him back to when we was younger and healthy, and not the elderly, frail, poor health person he was when he passed. I wouldn't selfishly bring him back to pick up where he left off. There's a few, Karl Marx, so he can see what came of communism and shoot himself. Ronald Reagan, so he can fix the US. The founding fathers, so we can give them modern firearms and watch them agree that the Constitution is absolute and that we need to own them, and maybe Stalin, just to watch him get murdered. My friend Mike, such a funny and upbeat guy. He survived several tours in Afghanistan only to be killed from complications after a car wreck. That was the other driver's fault. He had just become a new father and was the happiest I had seen him. His son will grow up never really knowing how good a guy he was. Hear me out. Because every person in the world should love to take a shit in his mouth. But Hitler, once the world has been given a chance to shit in his mouth, then and only then does he get his head turned into an art beast firing squad, achieving world peace through summary execution of Hitler. George Washington, it would have to be very public and give him time to absorb what kind of hellhole we all live in. After he got done crying about not being able to own slaves, he'd go on Fox News and tell them all that they suck balls and Republican Party would be finally destroyed. I was going to say either of my parents, but they lived their lives, so I think I'd bring back a young cousin of mine. I barely knew him, but his suicide hurt his family so much. And he was so young and bright, and no one has any idea why he did it. Not even a hard choice really. Probably Jesus. Not for religious reasons, but societal. I feel like he'd be able to clear up a lot of the miscommunication that has caused so much conflict in the world. Of course, that's assuming people believe he is who he says he is, which is probably a stretch these days. Depends on if I want to pick someone who I knew personally or not. Someone I knew personally, my mentor from college. Someone I didn't know personally, my grandfather. He died before I was born. But I have also been told how good of a guy he was and how similar we are. My grandfather on my mother's side. He was an intelligent and kind-hearted man. I really wish I could have had a real conversation with him about heavier topics. But he died when I was too young for such things. For my world only consisted of home and school. Some smart scientist like Stephen Hawking, wonder what discoveries would someone like that do if they're brought to life, would choose him specifically since his death was recent, so there would be less new science and technology to explain. My dad, of course, I don't know what to do about the reason he killed himself in the first place, so it'd probably just be a temporary thing. Hell, he might not even appreciate me bringing him back to life. Now that I think about it. I know this isn't a person, but my kitten Atlas. He saved me from an abusive relationship and he died from a fatal disease. I only got to have him for 5 weeks before he died. I just want some more time with my little savior. My mother's mother. I don't think I would because she's long gone. Otherwise I'd like to meet her and for my mother, to show the family she has created after her. Never got to meet her because she died when my mom was 13. Mr. Rogers. I met him once when I was 5 at the Pittsburgh PBS station. He was larger than life in my eyes, and I couldn't even speak. He was kind, patient, talkative, approachable, genuine. The world needs him again. The band has spelled that way on purpose. They did that song, What Once Was, poignantly titled. They were both very young and had so much potential. Both were killed in a collision with a drunk driver. So sad. The founding fathers, everyone says crap about what they would do. I'd like to get their input. George Washington, what should we do about transgender people? I'd love to see what he thinks about a lot of issues. Sorry for your loss. I would bring my mum back if I could, and her mum. They are forever loving, compassionate, understanding, level-headed ladies. True to the heart for everyone. Again, sorry for your friend passing. My grandfather from dad's side, 'cause I don't know why there's a feeling inside of me that tells me that he was gentle and kind, although I haven't even seen him. May he rest in peace, and may Allah grant him Jannah. My grandfather on my father's side. He died when my father was 16. I was born when he was 22. Maybe if he would have lived longer, my father would not have grown into the narcissistic age that he is. It's going to sound kind of stupid, but my dog has such a hard time getting home without his friend running up to you and announcing to the whole street that you've arrived and him laying at my feet. Tesla. Newton, Einstein. I'm not that well educated, but I felt like we need some great minds nowadays too. Not that there aren't any today, but could use all the help we can get to solve today's problems. My girl, at least long enough for her to hug me back once more. My mum. She died suddenly of a heart attack 8 years ago. I would bring her back just so I had the chance to tell her what I never had the chance to say to her. I'm not paying for your nursing home. Psychedelics. One of my greatest dreams would be to smoke cannabis or do LSD with my mum or dad, but it would have to be legal, so it wouldn't make us all anxious and could be knowledgeable about it. Thomas Jefferson, mainly so I could smack him upside the head and ask what the heck was he thinking with helping found a free country while keeping his children with a slave as his slaves. My best friend, who was killed at the age of 23. I would love her to meet my husband, her adult children, and to just plain have her around. It has been 27 years and I still miss her every day. Besides Jesus, my parents, children who tragically passed away, leaving devastated parents. Irwin. Next would be Bruce Lee or Kurt, maybe Humphrey Bogart. My dog Sandy. She disappeared back October of 2004 and never returned home. To this day I still miss her and due to no closure on what happened. Adopting a new dog Greedy is still difficult. A girl I dated in HS was raped and murdered when we were in college. I'd bring her back, not to be with her, but just so she could have lived the rest of her life. she deserved as much. Not gonna lie. It would be Jesus. It would ruin everyone's preconceived notions and probably destroy Christophicists. I couldn't see him supporting most of the crap going on in the world. A friend of mine died last week. He was a huge fan of Michael Jackson. He was the only one that was there for me in my lows and high. And I want to bring Michael Jackson back to life. My brother, he committed suicide because the woman he was having an affair with threatened to tell his wife. If I would have known, I would have helped him. I never got the chance. Definitely my mom. Oh, how I miss her every single day. She's been singing with the angels for over 27 years now. She was my bestest friend and no one could ever compare to her. Nikola Tesla, so he could actually be useful in our day and age and give us what he envisioned for our future instead of the fuckery we got from the con job. That is Thomas Edison. Two of my best friends, they died a few years apart. If I had the chance to give them back to their children, to their in a heartbeat, it would be them. Bill Hicks. Although his head would probably immediately explode. Imagine someone appearing from the early 90s and being told the Donald Trump situation all at once. My best friend, he was killed in 2020. The absolute best person to be friends with. It's so hard not to compare people to him. I pray I meet him again in a new person. My dog and my grandfather, I lost him too early. And I haven't seen him for, I believe, 20 years for distance reasons. I wish I could say I love you to him one more time.